Hi guys, this is Josie from Hill Valley Dairy. Just wanted to pop in and show you guys a really cool idea for a little date night in. We're gonna start here with our cutting board. You guys can do any size, any shape. It's kind of a fun way to change up just having regular plates for your meal. I start when I do my layouts by taking the empty cups that I want to use and placing them where I want them on the board. It's really fun to kind of find different shapes or different colors of cups too. It kind of makes your board a little bit more fancy. These two little cups I got from a local store in East Troy called Home on the Square. He's got a lot of awesome options in there. And I fill the cups with anything that I need as like my small grabbing bowl. So cut up apples or any sort of fruit slices that you're gonna put in there. And then I did a pretzel mix in the other smaller bowl. Then I kind of go through and add in a couple of my stronger, older aged cheddars because they get a little bit crumbly. So it's easier to kind of clean up a little bit of the crumbles that last on the board, makes it a little bit nicer looking. And the one thing I love about cheese is that you can kind of cut it into different shapes and sizes, and that really plays with the texture and the levels on the board. So with our aged Gouda, which we have on the side here, the yellower one of the two, we did kind of longer triangles and then you stack them in opposition. So it creates this really nice texture and level. And then with our Alina, I did kind of smaller cubes, little sticks, if you will, that allow it to kind of hold its texture together a little bit more. With each cheese, you're gonna need to make sure that you don't wanna cut it in ways that it's just gonna kind of fall apart on your board if you wanna have that presentation side of things. Next, we kind of lay out our crackers and any sort of pretzels or any sort of carbs, if you will, if you wanna add those to the board just to kind of create your structure, and then you see how much room you have to work with after that. Next, I added the meats, and the reason I kind of wait a little bit to add the meats is I really want to see that color in there, but I also want to see how much room I have. Meats are usually a little bit larger and a little bit harder to kind of fit onto the board, so I want to put that in right away to make sure I have enough space for it. So here I have a sausage stick from Lake Geneva Country Meats, a summer sausage stick that I cut up into smaller chunks, so it's really easy to grab. And then on the other side of it, I have a spicy salami, also from Lake Geneva Country Meats, that it has a really awesome texture, but also really great color. So I like to kind of pull that to the side there so that it has a little bit more depth. And I sort of start to fill out the board a little bit with any meat that I have. And then I added in another cheese. This is the habanero cheddar. I personally, for my date night boards, when I do these with my husband or even with my kids, I really like to kind of create the one cheese that I always love to have on there. And I love my spicy habanero cheddar. So we decided to go with that one on this board. So I have our two aged cheddars that are a little bit more mild, and then my spicy cheddar I put next to the spicy sausage. Also keeping that in the same realm so that if there are people who don't like spice, they know to kind of stay away from that edge of the board. Then I kind of threw on some of my my fillers, as I call them. So cheese curds are awesome because they're super friendly. Everybody loves them. They're also ours are a little bit larger, so it's kind of nice to fill up some space. Just adding a couple on there will really kind of fulfill everyone's cheese curd needs. You don't need a ton of curds on the board if you have other cheeses. And then I added some carrot sticks and celery sticks as well as a great palate cleanser. This is a really fun step. I really like doing this. So when we go through with the cheeses, I always like to think what shapes hold best to give my board a lot of dimension. And for me, I really love using small cookie cutters are a really great way to add a lot of shape and a lot of playfulness to the cheeses. This works really well with cheddars or something a little bit thicker. If you have cheeses that are a little softer, it's kind of hard to cut them into these shapes. But you use small miniature cookie cutters and then kind of carefully press out the shapes. And then all of the scraps, if you have any scraps left over, are a really great way to like throw on top of any dish you're cooking, or you can kind of save that in the fridge for later. That way nothing goes to waste. And next I added in my flavor of jams. So I chose a peach jam because I really like the sweetness, not just with the aged cheeses, but also with my habanero, the hotness in the habanero. It's kind of an awesome complement. So I chose just a tiny little jar. Again, I love to recycle like small dishes that I can find anywhere. And this was an old spice dish that I ended up washing out and adding some jam into it so it fits perfectly on the board. You don't have to worry about an entire jar of jam sitting on your cheese board. And then I kind of go through and fill out the edges. And when I fill out the edges, I use items like cranberries or dried apricots or any sort of dried nut or berry that you can put on the side. Kind of fills in any of those gaps that you might have within the cheese board. And then on the ends, I also added a little bit of chocolate just to kind of sweeten the deal, make sure you get the whole meal on there. So everything from your meats and cheeses and fruits and veggies, and then sweeten it up with some desserts. So that is our date night cheese board. It's kind of awesome because you have so many options and you can play around with tons of different types of cheeses. Any sort of vegetables or fruit that you want to sub in, totally work. It's kind of pick your preference of your favorite items and then put them all on a board. So hope you guys enjoy your date night board. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at hillvalleydairy.com. And then you can also check out our cheeses that we have for sale, and we also are available at Lake Geneva Country Meats. Thanks, guys.